My name's Karen Riecks. The military wasn't even a light in my ideas of what I would do. Women were either teachers or nurses in at least my family, my culture. And so I started out teaching, but I ended up stopping after the first year, and then I was in market research for a year traveling. I went back and got a master's for a year, tried teaching again, tried waitressing. And while I was there, I ran into somebody that was a Marine Corps recruiter, and so I did sign up for 2.5 years. I was trained in meteorology, and I was going in at the end of Vietnam in '73, and I stayed 25 years, and that's because of God really blessing me, and I was number 2 in my graduating class from training, and therefore I was guaranteed a regular commission and retirement, essentially. I chose meteorology because they gave us a list of things, they called it weather, and it sounded like an outdoor job. And I like the outside a lot, and it is to a sense. You only do 2 things in meteorology. You observe the weather and then you forecast the weather. And I was assigned to the Marine Corps 1 helicopters that service the president. And the base is Quantico. And then they go up to DC, and they're called white tops. They have a white top that indicates that's their field, is the presidential service. The pilots would come into the weather office and say, we can't tell you where we're going, but we need your forecast. And all they would tell us is east of the Mississippi or west of the Mississippi, and then we'd have to give them a forecast. Back then, when there were just teletypes and you had to punch in your weather observation every hour, all weather reporting stations publish an hourly observation. And so the observers would go out and do that. The forecasters were the ones that briefed the pilots and that made any forecasts for the local area if we did that. We are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so it's shift work. So you have to schedule people, and then there's all kinds of, let's change the schedule this way, that way. There were stories about helicopters crashing and at Quantico, and so just the stories that are handed down, you feel very responsible for the specifics and the accuracy of both your observations and your forecasts. Being a woman in the Marine Corps was being a part of a little boys club. It still is. And very much, if you don't like it, it's just easiest to get out rather than try to change things. Most of the people around me knew that I was a believer, and I have always consistently been treated very well. Those were the days of the pinup posters, and guys did not take those down, but I didn't go in their offices that much either. And then I was moved to Yuma, Arizona. And people say, why do you need weather in Yuma? There is no weather, but the pilots fly in and out and always need their forecast for where they're flying. We were a training base there, and they also had the Harriers, which are the planes that take off vertically. They had the English Rolls-Royce engines. They were just in initial training use, and we had enough aircraft, we had enough crashes, and I can still see that black smoke that goes up that just means that it's either aviation fuel or diesel fuel that's just burning, and the sinking feeling. And then they go back whenever there are crashes and look at the weather forecast. You know, what did you give the pilot? What did you tell the pilot as part of the investigations? We always had to be able to forecast where they were going. And so even though our weather was normally just clear and 10 miles visibility, boy, and out on the tarmac, it was hot. Those pilots would get in the planes, and there's no automatic quick air conditioning once they pull the canopy. So, but we had to forecast wherever they were going, and that could vary. Mountains, over the ocean. We had the California cumulus would come up every afternoon, or in the morning they had the stratus. And then I went overseas to Okinawa for a year, and that was maybe like southern Florida. It's an island, it's very tropical, so that's when I started perming my hair actually, because I would fix my hair in the BOQ and then I would go outside and it would all just fall because I'm Swedish and it just is straight by nature. And so I started perming it just because I didn't want to look frumpy. So I was the 3rd MARDIV assistant adjutant. Yep. And Marines have more people on Okinawa than any other service. We have about 50,000 there. And it's the fighting arm of the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps has basically 2, the wing and the ground pounders, the division. So I was the administrative office, and that's called the adjutant's office, and I was the assistant division adjutant. During the time I was there, it was still the Japan National Defense Force. After World War II, they agreed not to have their own military. And so the Navy, the Air Force have bases on Japan. We have a base on Japan also, but the much larger on Okinawa. So we're providing their defense forces in the region, much like in South Korea right now. Then I went to New Orleans for 2 years, and there I was also part of a division, but this time the 4th Marine Division, which is the Reserve Division. I was the training officer for the 4th MARDIV, and it was there that I was notified of my promotion to Major, which was a big highlight. In 1990, I was promoted to Lieutenant Colonel, and that turned out to be my retirement rank also. I have 2 identities in life, maybe put it this way. I'm a Marine, I'm a Christian. Both are just very, very strong. When you're a Marine, you just know you're a Marine. I have a saying, I'm a Marine, I can do that. And so it's a confidence. And it is built in boot camp or our officer training that we have initially. The Marine Corps, I believe, is known for its esprit de corps, the spirit of the Corps. And I think every Marine, whether they're in for 2 years or 35, it's just a pride that they carry with them. And so being a Marine is the greatest. And the Marine Corps says, "Hoorah!" It comes from here.